I hope I find you all well this morning. I will start off with a statement.
Knowing how ridiculously abusive he has been lately, just over the past few days, the fact that he can introduce and start the video in this way is just a true insight into how crazy and sociopathic he is.
Basically, I've been stressed out lately. I know I have been. For many different reasons, some of which are public, some are not. All right? There's been stuff going on in my life, both here on the streams that you're well aware of, because I've made you well aware of it, as well as stuff going on in my private life. And it stressed me out recently, everything combined at once. It's like we've been talking about recently. When it rains, it pours. It's not just, oh, here's a few things that happen over time, so they're easy to handle.
The way that he characterizes this as though it's outside of his control really speaks to just how much he does not want to be held accountable for anything in his life. How can he go about saying, like, all of these things have happened to him? He is the only one who has any control over what he puts out on stream.
No, instead it just has to be everything all at once, right thrown in your face, and somehow you're supposed to juggle all of it and deal with all of it all at the same time, right? And honestly, one of the reasons why this month I decided against going forward with the documentary about myself, that's one of the major reasons. Already I've got so much going on, so much on my plate, that I didn't see how realistically I was going to be able to handle all of that stuff, plus take on all of the added burden of trying to properly do this documentary, which, let's be honest, had to have been done properly, because if it wasn't, that was not just going to only, affect me, but you, the viewers, as well.
I feel like we can significantly shorten the reasoning for not doing the documentary when we think about a few things. As Mike Klum was reaching out and contacting people to interview and talk with, even Phil started to realize that there was no one that was speaking positively. And even the people who were going to be bringing up his history are probably not going to be bringing up things that he won't shared because it's only going to go further back into his life. He wanted a documentary, but he wanted none of the things that actually pertain to a documentary. So I don't think Phil actually knows what a documentary is.
I realize that we are a community, all right? And basically, we're in a situation where anything that happens on these streams can affect anyone in this community.
I just cannot even fathom for a moment saying this out loud. I just I don't even know if he truly understands what he is actually implying here. Because to say this, to say that something can happen on your stream and have a direct impact on your audience, that makes you responsible. You are more responsible for them if you're saying that, Phil.
Right? So I get that, and I'm learning, and I'm a human who gets really stressed out sometimes. And so I just want to start off today apologizing for any stress that I may have relayed onto you in the last week.
This is an absolutely terrible fucking apology for so many reasons. Number one, he's saying that he's sorry for any stress he's relayed onto you. Does anyone else remember in the Side Scrollers interview when Craig had specifically asked Phil about apologizing, reaching out, contacting people directly? Phil, you have been directly abusive to specific people in the past day, the past 2 or 3 days. There's no fucking reason that you can't directly name people and apologize.
That's on me for being nervous, for being, like I said, at my wits' end for various different reasons. And again, it's not all stuff that we've talked about on stream. There's other stuff going on as well.
Phil, no one else does this. No one else that is creating content or in your situation would have the audacity to continue to bait and hook, oh, these terrible, awful things behind the scenes. You can't keep bringing that up if you're not going to tell people what it is. You just can't do that. If you want to have a personal life and a public life, you have to keep those two things separate. You can't just keep throwing out these unknowns on your audience. That is not fair to them, Phil.
In life, for me anyway, the thing that ultimately makes me feel the worst is when something is going wrong and I have absolutely nothing I can do about it, right? There's one thing if stuff's, happening around you, like, all right, let's take action, right? Let's fix this, let's fix this, let's do this, let's do this, let's adjust on the fly and fix things and make them better.
And unfortunately, Phil, no one lives a life that planned out where every moment is just totally accounted for and there aren't unknowns. But your strategy of never planning for the future, never setting anything aside, and always just coasting by from day to day is precisely the reason that you're always in this situation. You're making this your audience's responsibility again, and you should not be doing that.
But sometimes in life, and especially as you get older, you will realize this more and more, as is my experience. There are things that are inevitable. There are things that are destined to happen that you can't stop.
I have such a problem with this attitude as a whole. And the further we get into this video, the more I'm probably going to say on that. But his entire behavior and belief system is he's just completely given up on life. This man does not try. He does not see any benefit in trying. And he is so content in believing that the universe is just choosing to persecute him, and there is nothing that he can do to change any of his situations. Not on his stream, not on his health, not on his relationships, not on his behavior, not on anything. There's no self-development. And the further we get into this video, it becomes even sadder.
All right? And when they happen, it sucks. And it's one thing if it's one thing happening, but when you have a series of events that continue over the course of for me, it's been like now about a year and a half. And the stress levels just keep becoming exponentially more and more and more and more.
Wait, the last year to year and a half have been these stressful times? I thought at the end of the year, other than the Side Scrollers interview, he spoke pretty positively about this 2023. At least staying out of the drama, not getting into issues. I mean, it was all complete lies, of course, but he was saying that at the time. Now that he's in the middle of this problem, he's acting like he's gone through and that there's been this ongoing struggle for the last year to year and a half. Maybe he has had these problems behind the scenes, and I'm sure he has, but the issue is they're always only brought up in addition to money. Why does he never brings the vibe or the mood down when he's getting a lot of money to say like, oh shit guys, I got this stuff going on and I need help, and he doesn't bring the mood down at those times. So why is it only coming up now when he's needing money?
It wears you down, and for a while there, I feel like I was actually doing real good. Like, I feel like over the second half of 2023 and into this new year, like, there was good positivity and momentum. Admittedly, early on last year, there was a lot of stress because of bad decisions that I made. But I feel like I adjusted that. And then with the release of something like Street Fighter 6, which reinvigorated my efforts to want to play games competitively and getting a new crowd of viewership back and continuing on with all these different projects and things I've been doing along the year and adjusting, I felt like everything was going smoothly for as much as could be done. You know what I'm saying? And then, then things all happen at once and everything explodes and everything hits the fan. And it's like, now what do you do to fix it? Oh, you just can't.
What an absolutely fucking pathetic way to live your life. To just resign yourself in this way over these things, Phil, is just so incredibly sad.
There's nothing you can do. Oh, that's great, because, it's only my life. It's not like this is a video game. It's like, oh shit, I'm playing and things are really going bad this run. That's okay. I'll just respawn with my next life.
Which is exactly why I find your lack of effort to actually do anything in your life that's going to improve your situation so fascinating. Because how can you acknowledge and understand it's not a video game? It's not. You've got one shot at this, Phil. How can you acknowledge that this is not a video game and you need to be proactive and engaged in your life to get the results that you want? Sitting back and just doing nothing is not the answer.
Oops. Oh, this is real life. There's no respawning of a next life, right? You just have to deal with what's going on and somehow make do. And that's kind of what's been going on with me recently. Because some people have even said, they've come by streams and said, you seem like you're stressed again. It seems like you're at wit's end and you're angry and you're snapping and stuff like that. And the truth is that I'm in a unique situation where I'm put under a microscope constantly, and unfortunately I'm not allowed to say and do things that other people can do.
I do not know these other people that he is referring to, and I believe that he and I are both talking about the same situation here. Phil, you went on a tirade insulting and berating one person on your stream. You were completely unhinged. Please point to the other streamer, the one that you have as an example, or all of the ones that you are claiming exist, that actually insult and berate their audience and are able to just get away with it, or whatever you're trying to imply. This is not about anyone else. This is about your behavior.
Right? Like, any other person can make an observation about something and be like, hey, that's kind of like me. I see myself in that. That's pretty crazy. It's like fourth wall breaking. I'm playing a game and I see a connection to my real life. And most people can say that and that's fine. But if I say that, you have 20,000 jackasses who then spin it into something like, oh, he's egotistical, he's this, he's that. What are you talking about?
Phil, your reaction to the lightest of jokes about this is the entire reason that you were being called egotistical. You did not have a proportional response to what was actually. You could have laughed about this. It could have been relatable. Your audience could have shared video games and stories that they found connected with them. But you're just incapable of laughing at yourself.
It's a simple factual observation that any human should be able to make, but I'm not allowed to make it because I'm the devil, right? I'm the villain. So I can't just do normal stuff. I'm not allowed, right? Just like everyone else who says dumb stuff like, oh, the reason why you're so stressed out is because you put all of the effort of your business on the fact that it's a crowdfunded business, right?
I think you're stressed out because it's exhausting when you're treating people like shit every day. And you do. You treat your audience like shit every day, Phil.
And if you diversified out and you did more than just crowdfunding and you found sponsorships and things like that, you'd be fine. Which is completely false. I can't get sponsorships because of these people who ruin everything for me.
See, even this, Phil, could show that you had a moment of growth, that you could tell yourself, I'm not getting sponsorships because I made poor choices in my past behavior. You still want to lay the blame on other people for your own actions.
There's a reason why I'm not in the Twitch Partner Program, and it's not me, okay? There's a reason why Teespring dropped me from their merch store after having me in there for over 5 years and setting me up themselves, knowing well who I was, okay? I don't have or get the opportunities everybody else does because I'm in a unique situation. I think Mike Klum actually said it best. All right? He literally said to me, in my early research about you, to figure out who you were and everything, as I started to look deeper into things, I realized that you have likely one of the biggest troll communities on the internet. Bigger than other people who he's dealt with. Much bigger. Which is hilarious because you see some of the other stories and things. It's like, oh, woe is me, woe is me. Yeah, but you don't even have half the fucking hardships, you know, of other people. Woe is you, right?
I mean, if I don't know what he means by hardships, because he has broadcast every single hardship and challenge in his entire life to his audience for the entire time he's been on YouTube. His sustained life has been broadcast and cataloged from every single catastrophe and emergency. So I don't know why he's acting like Mike Klum was saying something that was shocking, because Phil, your life has been put online because you put it online.
So basically, with me, all right, there's just so much going on. There's really no ways to fix the problems that are happening. And what ends up happening is that all that gets pent up inside of me, and it affects me in a bad way.
And this is what your life looks like when you practice no healthy coping skills. This is what happens when you make zero effort to be accountable for like your emotional regulation. Phil, his only obligation is just to insult his audience. That's the only thing that he understands.
And then I go back to my old ways, and I do things that are stupid, and I bother you guys with things every stream that I shouldn't bother you with, and it is what it is, right? So
notice how he just glosses through this and just goes, "Oh, it is what it is." Phil, you are mentioning like serious things that are affecting the quality of your stream. Just in this sentence alone, where you're talking about bringing negative things to your audience and putting that on them, you're recognizing that. Now, can you also recognize why that might contribute to them not wanting to give you money? Can you make that connection that you are creating a negative viewing experience for your audience?
there's not much you can do about that besides recover from it and learn from it and try to regroup and try not to make the same mistakes for the 27th time.
Even this feels so fake and discounted. Like he's discounting his apology as he gives it. And he feels like that somehow doesn't make him look worse. I truly don't understand this.
Right? So today is going to be a chill day. All right? Today is going to be a completely chill day. All right? It's just going to be me relaxing with you guys, enjoying some laid back games. Not even a fighting game, which is a good thing. You know, I like Tekken a lot. Right now, I think it's a superb fighting game, and I'm having a ton of fun learning the game and getting better at it. But it's a stressful game. When you're playing a fighting game like that, that's like adrenaline pumping, nerves on edge, and you need your nerves on edge. That's the thing. You need to be able to react and do things, and you know, constantly a million things going through your head at once, right? So, and by the way, I don't know why Neckbeard Reviews is typing paragraphs in the chat. There's no way I can read them. I'm doing a show.
I believe at this point someone in his chat was trying to give him advice, and it was probably good advice, and of course that has no room and no place for it in anything that he is interested in. So he couldn't acknowledge or respond to anything that was said directly, so he could only try to insult. And that's what he does every time. If it's not advice that he wants, he'll simply interpret it as an insult. And that's what happened here.
You gotta love it. People are like just typing their heart out in the chat. Like, you see I'm talking to the camera, right? Like, I can't read what you're saying. Anyway.
So why should they care about your problems if you don't care what they have to say?
So, I apologize for any stress that I caused this week. Please know that it wasn't intentional. It was because of all the other things going on in my life at this point.
And this is where the apology continues to fail, because a genuine apology comes without blaming external factors. You don't try to go and point at other things. You recognize in yourself that you were responsible for your own behavior, Phil. And outside of anything else that was happening, you were the only one that could control how you responded. So you have to apologize earnestly. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with your audience. This is the reason that you continue to say, oh, I apologized for that 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Your apologies don't mean shit because you're immediately blaming like other things in your life. You're not taking responsibility.
Um, and it sucks that things are just happening all at once. It's a perfect storm of crap, and I got to deal with it, and I got to get through it. And the thing is, I know I'll get through it. I have been through this kind of stuff before. I've gotten through it before. It's not the end of the world. At the same time, it's just incredibly stressful that this is the millionth time that stuff happens that's not in my control. And again, I'm powerless to do anything about it. And that's what drives me nuts the most,
So it does drive him nuts, but not to the point that he will ever actually take any action or responsibility himself. Okay, I guess that makes sense.
Because as much as I would like to say, I know what I'll do, I'll adjust all my content and I'll try to make it better per feedback, which I've done. New thumbnails, new titling system for my videos, right? Bringing back content that's been lost from the internet for years and making a whole channel to make that presentable to you in a modern format, which you've wanted, right? Keeping shows alive that very well could have died because of trolling activity, but still able to keep them alive because of the help of you guys and on-the-fly thinking. I'm doing my best to juggle all of this and maintain sanity, It's a lot on my plate because it's not just that. If that was just what I was doing in my life right now, if that was it, that would be enough. But the fact that outside of this office, I've got a private life and I've got other things going on that you guys are not aware of at all, multiple other things happening that I'm juggling there. And
Yes, another disgusting callback to the things that he cannot name. He can certainly reference them and use it, but he cannot give any details or any information on any of these other factors. But they still become your audience's responsibility because you make it a part of your content. So you're still responsible for the fallout, the negativity, the lack of income that it may bring in, viewership decreasing, depression, like all of these factors are things that you're creating. So if you're going to reference and bring up these outside things, even if you don't go into details, you're still responsible for what happens after the fact.
it's incredibly stressful, and it sucks. So it is what it is. I got to get through it. And I want to, again, let you know that if I'm on a stream and I seem overly stressed, right? It's probably a combination of a million factors. It's not just what's going on in that moment, right? But you have to understand that sadly there's just people out there that are out to get me for no good reason. Like, it's not because I've hurt them. It's not because I've done heinous acts on the internet. It's because the internet has attached themselves to my ass as a giant pulsating infected hemorrhoid, and it's about to burst, and they just stay there and it won't go away because they found that they get pleasure or money or popularity by literally hurting me.
For me personally, I think I get interest out of documenting and just observing your behavior and how you treat other people. And I find it encouraging that so many people are able to call attention to the fact that your behavior is completely disgusting. So outside of whatever else he is saying, I think that would be at least one of my reasons.
And so I have to deal with that on a daily basis. Imagine that there's a group of people out there that are all anonymous, but they can get away with just twisting the knife further into you. And every day that they do it, they get something pleasurable out of it, and you get hurt, and you can't stop them.
But that's literally not the circumstance that has happened at all, Phil. You broadcast yourself being a terrible person to your audience, and then people rightfully call out your behavior. People are not just coming after you for no reason.
There's nothing you can do about that, right? It's pretty bad. And there's not much I can do about it, all right? So it's life, and I want to get better, meaning I want to not be putting that towards you guys, if I can avoid it.
That is the weakest apology, Phil. A proper apology would be saying, my behavior was completely inappropriate. I never should have said those things. I am so sorry, and it will not happen again. I owe you, as my viewers, much more than what I showed. I mean, I don't know. That's just off the top of my head. There's tons of things that would go into a proper apology, and none of those were involved in anything that Phil has had to say in this video.
So it's this simple. You're not going to hear it, from me. I'm just going to move forward positively. I'm just going to relax with you guys on streams. We're going to enjoy games. We're going to have fun discussions. I'm not going to be bringing up the stressful bullshit. There's no point. Because again, as much as I've tried to affect the situation in some way, none of my efforts have helped.
The fact that he seems to think that he has actually made an effort up to this point is fascinating for me, because I do not see where he has made any effort at all.
Like nothing. Literally nothing that I've said, that I've done, that I felt has helped. So why am I going to sit here and why am I going to be so pent up angry about it, right? When it's time to basically just let it go and be more reserved, and whatever happens, happens.
No responsibility, no accountability at all. Just whatever happens, happens. This is the reason for a majority of your problems, Phil.
Right? I think that's the better way to think about it, is sometimes in life there's things you cannot control, and you just got to let go, rather than be so angry about a situation or so try to be control freak about it. Sometimes you just can't fix it. So let it ride and see what happens. In life, generally, in my life, when stuff like this has happened and I just let it go, well, not really just let it go, but over time, things just get better.
None of that really is affected by time, Phil, and passing time really has nothing to do with this situation. It's about you making steps to change the way that you interact and behave with your audience. Like, this whole segment has been absolutely pointless. He did not even come close to actually apologizing or looking inside himself on what he actually said and did that caused all of this to happen.
So I'm just going to let it go and hopefully things get better. Rather than sit here and harp on shit all day, every day. There's no point. All right? So I've said my piece. I apologize for being so stressed this last week.
Another quick non-apology right here. Apologizing for being stressed, not apologizing for anything he actually said or did.
To anyone who felt like I wasn't myself or you're offended or something, well, I'm a human and I make mistakes. And I'll continue to make those mistakes, All I can do is finally acknowledge when I make said mistakes. And say I'll move on from focusing on that stuff every single day.
And this is exactly why these mistakes are going to repeat themselves, Phil. It's exactly what you just said. You're going to acknowledge the mistakes, and then what is your next course of action? You said you're going to move on from thinking about it every day. That's not how you create change in yourself from negative behaviors. You have to confront whatever is inside yourself, whatever you're struggling with that causes you to behave this way towards your audience. You have to confront that directly. You can't just move on.
Right? You guys don't want to come to a stream every day to hear about my income. You guys don't want to come to the stream every day to hear about this problem or that problem with memberships and shit. You don't care.
And the very next stream is going to include all these things anyway, so I don't even know why he bothers saying this. Because there's no way possible that he will stream and not bring these things up. The memberships, the tips, all these things, it's so ingrained in who he is as a person. That's not going to go away.
You're just here to have fun with me, right? And to have a good time with whatever gameplay that I'm doing. And I'm grateful to those who come by every day regardless, right? To hang out with me and have a good time. Like, that's what you're here for, right? As I said many times over the years, you are here to unplug from your own lives and hopefully have some good time with me and forget about your own stresses.
At this point, I think your audience takes a break from their stresses just to try to work on yours. That's kind of what it seems like.
Correct? That's really what you're here for, ultimately, right? When you unplug, you don't want to then go to someone's stream and hear about more stressful bullshit, right?
It's times like this I really wish we knew what kind of streamer him and Kat sit down and watch. Because he's describing a situation that sounds absolutely terrible, and he's laughing about it, but that's literally the reality of his stream every day. So a part of me kind of hopes that Phil managed to seek out and find someone who's really like him, and maybe him and Kat have found like a Let's Player or somebody who just drops in these segments just so he can relate a little bit.
So, I mean, initially with this whole thing, I think, of course, as they say, hindsight is 20/20. Initially, what I probably should have done, which I wouldn't have known this because the first time I've gone through something like this, is just mention the problem, say it exists. If it further affects things, I'll let you know, and here's how we fix it. Then we fix it. So, for example, I fixed the problem when it came to the React channel, right? The problem has been resolved, and we just did a React show on Sunday that went down without a hitch, correct? So, rather than focusing on it and talking about it endlessly, that's it. All right, I mentioned it, we fixed it, that's it, move on.
Like I said in my last video, I think the best response would have been to say nothing. And further than that, I actually believe turning this into a positive or trying to turn it against these detractors that you seem to have a problem with would have been to welcome all of these new members, count up the total, celebrate it. You could still tell your audience that these new members don't count the same, they don't cost the same, they're not making you the same amount of money. That's still okay. You can tell your audience that, but you missed out on an opportunity. You had new members. You could have involve them in some way. You could have celebrated this members goal as something real. You will still get members in US dollars. You will. So I do not understand the way he self-destructed over this entire thing. He took what could have been a good opportunity for his stream and his community, and he completely ruined it.
Right? And that's really what I should have done, rather than just constantly talking about it, constantly asking for more of this and that, and getting everyone all riled up about bullshit, and then people coming here on the streams and getting all frustrated because why is Phil in this mood every day now? Why is Phil stressed out and this and that? You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like I said, today I'm not going to be talking about any of that stuff. I just want to hang out with you guys.
Oh God, okay, we made it to the end, and if you did make it this far, I just want to say thank you. And don't be like Phil. Learn from your experiences and grow. He is a terrible, terrible person. But thank you for watching, and I'll try to upload another one here soon. Peace out.